Hey everyone, and welcome to PPR Esports OCE for Canada. This isn't a league that I race in or have raced in consistently previously. I've only ever previously reserved in it, including this race. But from this week onwards, I will be taking up a full-time seat in this league. So expect more videos from this league in the future. But this one, bit of fun, just reserving in the Ferrari. So seeing what we can do. We also have FIBA from AFRT1 in this league reserving for this race as well. So expectations weren't high. FIBA's quite a bit quicker than us, normally at the top of AFRT1, while we're normally in the midfield. So yeah, just seeing what we can do. Anyway, on to our first lap of quali. Previous laps we've done, not a great one on the softs and then an invalid one. So this set of tyres is on already 1 lap old, so not going to be our best lap, but we'll see what we can do. Decent first sector, up nearly 3/10 in there. Looking for a good run through this chicane. Very, very easy place to invalidate and lose time, but pretty clean through there and up nearly 4/10 heading into the hairpin for the straight. Really important area to get a good exit. If you get a poor exit out of here, you lose time all the way down this straight up to the chicane. So very, very difficult to get right. We don't seem to gain or lose time through there though, so overall not too bad. And now just preparing ourselves for this final chicane, which is very, very difficult to get right. And I wouldn't say we nailed it, could have used more of the inside curb potentially for the first part, and you can see we lose a little bit of time to the end of the lap, finishing with a 108.9. And then on our final attempt, we invalidate it before it even starts, so not great, but still in P2 currently in qualifying, so not too bad. And we hold on to that position as well. So could have been better, but could have been a lot worse, and we end up on the front row of the grid. Anyway, getting ready for the start of the race, just trying to be nice and chill before we get ready for the 5 red lights to go out. And off we go. Not too bad, but then we get a bunch of wheel spin in 4th gear here. That gives FIBA a pretty easy run into turn 1. I was a little concerned maybe Joker was going to go for a move into turn 1 there, so probably missed the apex by a little too much. Overall though, not too bad a start, and we get away from it cleanly, and just got to focus on staying in FIBA's DRS range now for the rest of the race, as we get a VSC, so we can chill out for a little bit. But yeah, essentially for this race, we know there is rain coming at some point during it, most likely towards the end of the race. So for the first roughly 3/4, our plan was just to try and stay in FIBA's DRS and not lose time. We've underfueled the car, so if we can hold that DRS, we just want to save ERS and fuel as much as we can before that rain turns up. So just trying to keep relaxed. We're not going to try any moves on FIBA. He is significantly quicker than us, so we're just going to do our best to stick behind him for as long as we can in this race and see how we go. But anyway, on end of lap 2, so just before DRS gets activated, we are just on the edge of DRS range here. Really struggling to hold that gap. We're down to less than 40% ERS. We are really having to push here to hold this gap to keep our chances of a win alive in this race. Losing quite a bit of time through that chicane, and we're just going to miss out on DRS in this first zone on the back straight here. So not ideal. We're going to have to burn a lot of ERS here as well to try and keep in that gap. You can see we are closing it with a bit of slipstream and that ERS. We're back within a second, but it's looking very iffy as to whether we get DRS there. As FIBA, though, smacks the wall on the exit of the chicane there, and that just brings us all the way back up to him. So all that hard work that he did to get us outside of a second is gone like that, and we have probably the easiest DRS we've ever had in the end. Held it quite easily. Was wondering if he had damage at this point, because it did seem to be a pretty hefty hit into the wall, but he stays out, so we can only assume it was just tyre on wall and no front wing. So very, very lucky from FIBA there. Anyway, on lap 7, we're still holding that DRS. We've pulled a nice gap back to 3rd place with Dutchy, and FIBA dives it into the pits. So his strategy, I believe, was to jump off the softs on lap 7, onto the mediums through to the rain period that was meant to start roughly lap 20. Our strategy was to go up to lap 10 and pit onto the softs, but So we come through here onto our designated pit lap. I thought I hear Jeff say something about rain in 5 minutes, so we go through the chicane. And we ask him again, and if we listen in now...
Weather report.
Looks like rain is inbound, and we're expecting it in around 5 minutes. 5 minutes till the rain.
You can hear 5 minutes to the rain. So, Feber's already within our pit window time. We decide to stick it out. Lap 14, rain still hasn't come. Feber's within 9 seconds of us on the mediums, but it is getting darker. So if the rain does decide to come anytime in the next few laps, we have a good chance of getting a good jump on Feber during this rain period. So it's looking pretty tasty at the moment. We do have that 3-second penalty to worry about, and Feber is closing in very quickly on his fresh mediums versus our worn softs. But there is a chance that this could turn out very, very nicely for us during this race if we can just keep it clean for the next few laps before the rain comes. On lap 17, the rain is here. But Feber's also within a second, so it was a bit of a win and loss situation. We've got absolutely no grip on these worn softs now. You can see Feber just flies past us on those new, fresher mediums. Although they're now 10 laps old as well, so they're not as fresh as they were either. But we've now got no choice. We have to dive it into the pits, and we have to put the inters on. It's too late to put on a set of softs or something and then go onto the inters, and we just have to hope that this is the lap that the inters are ready to go. So we chuck those inters on, Feber pulling away quite easily as we get a VSC. So that is going to help us out. We are going to gain time on him under this VSC with this pit stop. So that's beneficial. It's now what the tyres are like as we leave the pit lane. And the second we got out, these tyres felt so good. It was perfectly timed for the weather. And we got it just right. So now we've just gotta get a good lap, and we come out in front of Feber. Just in front. I think actually about 2 seconds as he exits the pits now. Bit of oversteer on the exit of turn 2, but we've done very, very well with the strategy there. And actually gained time out of holding those soft tyres onto the car for so long. I can guarantee it was an absolute struggle through all of those laps as we get a safety car. Now, initially, I wasn't happy with this because that meant Feber got back into within a second of us. But we were still heavily underfueled at this point. You can see we're less than, or over half a lap underfueled. So this gave us the opportunity to save all of our fuel back, and now we're good to go to the end on both tyres and fuel as we get ready for the restart now. And it's not a great one. Tyres were very cold, didn't want to take any risks, but that has let Feber straight back into it. He goes for a move into turn 1 here. We hold it around the outside for the inside of the next corner. He tries to hold it around the outside of us, but we just managed to get the traction on him there, thankfully. For some reason, I decided to go defensive into this next chicane. Probably a bit of a mistake. He wasn't close enough to go for a move of any sort, and that really hampers us on exit. And he goes clean up the inside of us for this next corner. A little bit of contact, but all clean, fair racing. And I wasn't confident anymore. You can hear me. I reckon Feber was going to drive straight away from us. He has got quite a bit more pace than us in these conditions. I thought that I probably needed to hold him behind for a bit longer than we did. But it didn't work out. And instead, on lap 29... it's looking very, very slippery and very heavy. And I've made the decision at the end of this lap that we can't win this race on inters, but if the weather goes the right way for us, it is right on the edge between inters and wets now. If we jump on the wets, we have every opportunity to win this race. We have to take a risk here. We can't just stay on these inters. If we do that, we're guaranteed this P2. If we take a risk and jump on the wets, we have every opportunity to close that gap and get an overtake on the last or second last lap for the win. So we dive it in, and I'm just praying that this weather actually works out the right way for us. If it doesn't, we've thrown away a podium, but if it does work out for us, we have every opportunity of improving to P1. As we come out of the pits once again, our second stop of the race, the the tyres felt perfect from the get-go. They felt so good, and I was very, very happy. Because now we had that opportunity to get that race win. A little bit of oversteer again. Like, it wasn't perfect for the tyres, but it was better than what the Inters were, ever so slightly. You can see we're already closing that gap to Dutchy in front with 5 or 6 laps to go, sorry. So it's looking like a good option. And on lap 31, that 4-second gap to Dutchy is gone. And the gap to Faber is already within his pit window, so he no longer has a choice with those tyres. If he pits now, he comes out behind us on equal penalties. He has to go to the end of this race on Inters if he wants to win this race. So we've done very, very well here. We've made the right call, and it's looking really good. We just have to hope that this rain holds out and it stays these conditions until the end of the race. And on lap 32, you can see we're still closing that gap so quickly. It's 11.4 seconds in front. But unfortunately, we cut the chicane ever so slightly, and now we have 6 seconds of penalties, which doesn't make the win impossible, but it does make it a lot more difficult than it was before. Obviously, we have to get the overtake and win the race by more than 3 seconds now. But on lap 34... the gap is pretty much non-existent. It's 1.8 seconds into this final chicane, and we are closing it rapidly. We chuck it straight through there. So much more grip than Faber has on the Inters, and we're already almost within a second. I think at this point we were lapping 5 seconds a lap faster than Faber on those older Inters. And it was also full storm conditions, so the wet tyres had so much more grip than the Inters. Anyway, focusing on getting this overtake done as early in the lap as we possibly can. Trying to get a good run through this chicane to set us up for the next heavy braking zone. We go for it around the outside because he covers us off on the inside, but we just let it off the brakes a little too early. End up in the grass on exit. A little bit of friendly contact as well. But that's now given us the chance up the inside into the next chicane. We know we have more grip, and we absolutely send it up the inside, and we get that move done. So now we have to try and get this 3 seconds through the hairpin and the final chicane, which still wasn't impossible, but we had to make sure we absolutely nailed it through these corners. We get a really good exit out of the hairpin, and the gap is already nearly a second. We're pulling away all the way along this straight, hoping that we can just manage to have an absolute flyer through this final chicane. I think we only had one more warning to go though, so we couldn't risk another penalty. Take it a little bit safe there, and we haven't managed to gain enough. It was so close.
I needed to get past him when...
But we end up losing the race by 1.2 seconds. If only we just kept it that little bit cleaner through those wet laps, we might have had the win there. It would have been absolutely insane. In the end, it was the expected result. Fever obviously quite a bit quicker than I am at most tracks in most conditions. But yeah, knowing how close we came, it was a little bit heartbreaking. But still, congrats to Fever. Really good result for him, and I can't be mad with a P2 in the end either. But yeah, if you did enjoy, please consider subscribing if you're new, and liking the video. And hopefully we'll see a couple of you around for future videos and future live streams of my races as well. Thank you all so much for watching.